Thank you so much. The program this morning on ITV on independent television. I told you that we're going to be looking at the recent fuel increment, talking about the pump price per litre in Nigeria. You will recall that only last week we understand that Pegasin was to go on strike. And of course, some of the fears that were entertained were that if Pegasin goes on strike, then of course the resultant effects would be increments in fuel price. And somebody said that if Pegasin goes on strike, that it won't have any effect on the price of fuel in filling stations. But as we speak now, the landing cost of fuel, the PMS, otherwise known as the premium motor spirit, is between 165 naira and 172 naira. So that puts the costs at 173 naira, 175 naira if you are buying in your vehicle. And yesterday we also saw and heard whereby the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Timi Priye-Siva, said that the recent hike is due to the discovery of the COVID-19 vaccine by Pfizer in America, a pharmaceutical company in the United States of America. Now, analysts are somehow not too comfortable with that because to them, there's the relationship between COVID-19 vaccine being discovered and, of course, increasing the fuel price in the country. Well, to look at all this morning, I've got two gentlemen here. I've got Mr. Leonard Ibagwa, who once upon a time was the public relations officer of IPMAN, but currently he is the coordinator of IPMAN in Edo State. So welcome to this program this morning on ITV.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
And also, too, we have Barrister Adam Saliu, a constitutional lawyer, a notary public of Nigeria, and also a former SSA on legal matters to Edo State government. So welcome to this program this morning on ITV. All right, gentlemen, as we set the ball rolling, let's, I mean, what kind of insights can we give into the recent developments as it relates to the recent fuel price increment? I'll start with Leo Ibagwa.
Good morning, viewers. The issue is this. This kind of price differential actually started some months back when the federal government decided that they want to deregulate the petroleum industry. But for some of us, we felt it was not time, and the timing was wrong. The timing was wrong in the sense that most of the refineries in the country are not working, rather than the federal government itself has depended on the importation of petroleum products. So, as long as you are importing this product, and you are the sole importer of this petroleum product, other players are not there in the industry with you. So, for us, we kind of agitated that the timing was wrong. But be that as it may, they are the policy makers, and there is not much we can do rather than what we see today is what everybody had to live with. But unfortunately, in this scenario is that the situation in the country is very difficult due to this COVID-19 epidemic, and businesses are down. Families are not too comfortable with their take-home pay, and this price increase is coming at this time. And these variations definitely comes up every month. According to the PPPRA, which is a Petroleum Product Pricing Regulation Agency, they are dependent on forest, and the cost of the forest, the fluctuation on the dollar, so always give rise and fall to this kind of price differential that you see. But the problem here is that Nigeria is a kind of economy that we depend on importation, and we are not a manufacturing country, and our economy is not stable. So I do not know how there's going to be that variation that there will be a time that the naira will be able to be, might be higher than the dollar or match or probably come equal. So I foresee a situation that in the near future, we might get this petrol close to about 200 naira per liter.
Per liter. All right, now, Barrister Adam Saliu, there are perhaps many ways to look at the ongoing developments. We understand that when the federal government told Nigerians that they were going to deregulate as at March this year, a lot of people envisaged that it's going to mean increments in fuel and all that. And of course, as we speak now, there's no more subsidy that is being paid by the federal government. And against the backdrop that it is also said that importers are saying that there is no forex, there's no money for forex, there's no forex to import, these finished products and all that. And of course, yesterday we heard that the federal government has said that, okay, that they were going to grant forex for importation and all that. Now, what do you think is the true nature of things as it relates to this field development? I mean, the Minister of Petroleum Resources yesterday said that it's due to the discovery of COVID-19 vaccine. So how do we look at it? What do you think is the truth?
Well, constitutionally, fixing price for PMS and many other things, they are in the exclusive prerogative of the governments. Ipso facto, we don't expect government to organize a referendum or a plebiscite to say, buyers of fuel, how much do you want to pay? They will not seek your opinion, they will not seek my opinion. Once upon a time, it was 40 naira to a liter. Now it is 150, etc. So that's how it is, because it is in the exclusive list. Then the matters arising, they are very obvious. The naira continues to fall. 20, 30 years ago, 1 naira equaled $1. But now, a naira, you are talking, a dollar, you are talking of 380, almost 400 naira to be equal to $1. So that has devalued our monetary system. And as you earlier observed, in other jurisdictions, the petrol price per liter is much higher than Nigeria. Maybe because we are importing country, we don't export anything else. Then, as for the matters arising from this increase, that is what should concern us. We will solicit for palliatives to cushion the effects. Transporters should reduce the fare of transporting from here to Ring Road, from Ring Road to Upper, etc. When there are palliatives, when there are measures to bring down the prices of things, Nigerians will not complain.
Yeah.
When prices of inflation and the increase, when there's insecurity, and yet you cannot move from one place to the other, that is why Nigerians are complaining. So we need palliatives, we need workers' salaries to be increased, we even need employment. Many of the youth are unemployed. Once we do all this, people will not grumble about the increase in fuel, because it is the prerogative of the government and the petroleum regulatory body to fix the amount of fuel.
So are we looking at a situation whereby there's no possibility of it's being reduced? Is that what you're saying?
Well, in that case, the government will approbate and reprobate. Assuming if people go on the streets to demonstrate and the government feel concerned, they can come back to the status quo ante to say, okay, because of exigency, we had said 170 per liter. Now, because of development, we bring it down. A government once upon a time did that. You can fall back to status quo to satisfy the populace, because once fuel is increased, foodstuffs in the market will soar. Workers will complain that they have no money to buy things because everything will go. So I'm sure if they take appropriate steps, if they put up petitions using even democratic and constitutional means, and draw the minister, you talked of a minister recently talking about the raison d'etre, about the cost of the fuel. If all these aftermaths are brought to the government is not insensitive. It is there to cater for the people. The security and welfare of government are per section 14 talk to. They are the people of government, so I'm sure the government will listen.
Okay. Now, Leo Bagwa, you are an IPMAN PES official. As a matter of fact, it is in your purview to really know what is going on. Now, I understand that some of your members, they sell at a price that is somehow not too uniform. How do I mean? Now you find some IPMAN members selling at 165, some sell at 170, some sell at 172. Now it appears that your members are also part of some of the issues we are talking about. How come we don't have a uniform price so that Nigerians won't have to feel the effect?
Before I respond to that, let me take your mind back. Instead of shifting the blame to IPMAN. This word deregulation actually came on board during the era of Obasanjo. And what they had in mind then was that they needed to have other, private refineries. And those private refineries players, their agitation was that the market is not deregulated. As long as it's not deregulated, they cannot sell this product in their own rate. So the federal government, you have to work out the modalities to deregulate the system so that by the time they refine, they'll be able to sell, especially hetero, at their own rate. But however, the government said, okay, few of them were given licenses to have their own private refineries, but, it never come on board. Some went on upward, went on and started building private depots. Today, they have so many private depots. But if you also look at the licenses that we're giving to them, they are supposed to have their refinery, then have their own private depot as well. That is not feasible now. Though for some time now, I think we begin to see a modular refinery in Edo State, which is only which has the capacity to produce just diesel, not petrol. Because for them to have that capacity to produce petrol, you should be able to crack kerosene, then before you get to petrol.
Are you speaking authoritatively on this?
So
are you speaking? Is that
Google and find out?
Okay.
So now the point I'm trying to make here is that the federal government is deregulating. You've taken the jobs of Nigerians from them. As we speak, none of these refineries are working, and you have deregulated. So which means you left a bulk of it, and you did half of it. The half of it is deregulate. Where are the refineries? Now your job is shipped overseas. You are now patronizing other refineries overseas. You refine your product overseas and bring them back. Which means, this now brings us to Pengassin. Which means those members of Pengassin, they have no job any longer. Those men and women that are working in refineries.
Who are the Pengassin are people that are supposed to work in the refineries.
That's correct.
Okay.
So they have no job. Now, since these are no longer happening, Benin Depot is supposed to be filled by the petrochemical refinery in Warri. As long as that depot is not receiving any product, then the marketers, where would they now sort their product from?
They go elsewhere.
I'm glad you said that. Now that they've gone elsewhere, the first thing you think about is cost of transportation. Then the second thing you think about is security. Then there are so many bottlenecks that comes in. So that is why you begin to see this price
difference in price.
That's it. So even the federal government on its own is supposed to be paying the marketers petroleum equalization fund, which means, for instance, you are in Agbede and you get a product from Benin Depot, take it to Agbede. The man in Agbede can also sell at 170 without adding the transportation cost. But when this is not happening, What do you do?
Yeah, the federal government said that they were going to deregulate the downstream sector. I mean, what that implies is that they are going to remove their hands, off totally as far as the production of crude oil, petroleum, refining petroleum is concerned. So if we have that situation, you cannot expect the federal government to still have some form of support if that's what you're saying.
If you don't have that source of support, then have you given the opportunity to private investors to begin to import petroleum products into the country? Mind you, the idea of deregulation was not to start importing petroleum products from other countries. You are supposed to have your own refinery working. Importation is just to add to what you have. But today, the country has solely depended on importation, which means if you import, you take them to the private depots. So those marketers who cannot get product from the government depot, they can as well source product from the private depot. But today, there is nothing like government depot. The one you have in Edo State is not functioning. So as long as it's not functioning, it's just a motor park. Buy product X, will come there, turn around and go to your listing and discharge. So then these marketers go to private depot, buy product and take to their station. They add transportation costs, security costs, other costs comes in. You see different roadblocks. You see, you are in this country.
Yeah, if I follow what you are saying now, I was speaking with one of your members yesterday, and he reliably told me that most of you guys go to Lagos to buy. I mean, if most IPMA members go to Lagos to buy, how come we still don't have a uniform price? That's the question. You just said that Warri Depot is not functional as it were now.
Yes.
So if most IPMA members go to Lagos, how come we still have various...
You can have a uniform price, because if, for instance, you're coming from Lagos to Benin, we know how much it is. But if you are coming from Lagos to Auchi, is it the same transport?
I'm talking about Benin, not Benin. Yeah,
you're talking about Benin.
I have bought at 165,
yes,
170, and 172.
Okay, look at it. It's about competition. Most persons are selling, and they are selling at a loss, or they are just trying to survive. Because listen, if you go to the street now, if you go to the street, you see that there are a lot of petrol stations everywhere. So there's so much competition. So some persons they are begging to survive. Begging to survive.
So they're still in the business. They are begging to survive.
Yeah, what can they do? You can't turn it to a football field. It's not a portfolio business. Petroleum industry is not a portfolio business. Assume it's a portfolio business. I assure you, a lot of person would have walked away. Take your cash and walk away. But you can't assume the tank. You can't take the pumps away. You can't carry the land. So a lot of money has been invested there. But what do you do? Okay.
Now, Barrister Adams Ali, you talked about trying to provide palliatives. You were trying to talk to motorists, to reduce their fares and all that. Now, you will recall that this is also subject to simple economic situation. I mean, the man that drives his bus, we tag his fare at a certain rate depending on the amount he bought his fare. But don't you think that government has a role to play in all this? What kind of palliative do you think government should be thinking of at this time?
Well, as for the selling price, that is varied in many petrol stations. Well, if you say the government has the elastic to use, it's very correct. In other circumstances, the government can monitor that you cannot sell for more than such a price. If there's a monitoring body that oversees, they have said selling price is between 165 and 170. Anyone that sells more than that can get his station closed down. I would not agree that the marketers, the fuel station owners are managing to survive. If you enter Sapele Road axis, petrol stations are coming up every day. Opposite NNPC before Adesowa, one is being built. Santana Market area, Rando, High Fly, Moscow petrol station, everywhere NNPC there. So if the business of fuel selling is not lucrative, why will people who have money always decide to set up So they are setting it up because it is beneficial. And if it is exploitative, the government can use the sledgehammer. They can monitor it to say you are selling more than. You remember the era of war against the discipline. You are selling more than the approved price. Close down that station, find them, they will behave. So that will cushion. If not, as my co-contributor tried to say, if you buy fuel from Lagos, you add transport, you add logistics, you add security and incidental. So it will continue to happen. You buy in Auchi 180, buy in Billy 165. That one should be monitored and checked. So that's one way government can monitor it and ensure that the recommended price is what the ordinary buyer is using. And we should ensure that the fuel is available. Once upon a time, we will go and sleep in petrol station overnight to take queue and take number before you can get it to buy. But nowadays, thank God, the fuel is available. You go there, you buy, you come out. You don't waste days and hours. So we can monitor the availability. We can monitor the selling price. Anyone that is exploitative should be dealt with.
Okay. All right, so that's your own suggestion and your advice to the federal government. Now, Leo Ibagwa, let's look at what seems to always play out at this time, of the year in Nigeria. I mean, it's Utide. Utide is very close by. We always know that the next thing you begin to watch out for now is scarcity of the products. Now, even as we discuss the increments in the fuel hike, how can we see that we don't have this product scarce so that we just have a smooth Utide?
For me, I think IPMAN is doing everything possible to encourage marketers to make sure that their stations are well. And,
when you say IPMAN and marketers, IPMAN members are the marketers. So let's not, we know the game, we know what's going on. IPMAN is just an organization. Then most members of IPMAN, they are the marketers.
They are the marketers.
Like you are a marketer. So let us not...
listen, let me get it clear. Yeah. IPMAN is an association of its own.
Made up of fuel marketers. Yeah.
Made up of fuel marketers.
Yeah.
Talking to their members, which are the marketers.
Talking to themselves.
Well, you have committee running IPMAN. So whether we like it or not, there are a group of persons running that association. So who are saddled with the responsibility. But however, they are talking to their members, to the marketers, to make sure they source product from any of the available depots. But thank God we have some depots at Ogara. And marketers are taking advantage of it, knowing fully well that there's no product in Benin Depot. And, as long as there's no product in Benin Depot, they too are also citizens of this country.
But you just said a while ago that the only depot functional now is Lagos. So are you saying that the one in Ogara is also functional?
No, I didn't say
that. Because we are trying to look at the situation whereby IPMAN members don't take advantage of the situation.
No. You see, there's something you guys don't understand. I think if there is any industry that is much policed, is the petroleum industry. You have the PPRA that monitors that industry. You have the Department of Petroleum Resources. Then you have the weight and measure. So there are government agencies that monitors that industries. And the price variation you also see. Also mind you that there's a window gap which the government plays by the time they release their the cost of selling between so and so to so and so. So there are government agencies that monitors this. So for marketers to on their own wake up and begin to fix price, I don't think there's a cartel yet in this country that will take over that.
Okay.
So for me, that is not done. Whatever, at any cost you see marketers are selling, it's a government ceiling. They might give a ceiling of the highest you can sell is 175. The lowest you can sell 168, depending on you and depending where your station are. So I think that is what the markets are complying with. But in terms of scarcity, I do not see that. The only people we will talk to is the federal government, because they are the sole importer of this petroleum product. There's no other person. Every product you see in this country, they are the one that import this product and onward delivery to other private depots. The private depot owners also, get this product from them. So for us, the only person we can talk to now is the federal government to make sure that at all time, that the importation line is open.
All right, Barrister Adams, let's look at the position of the federal government one more time. Yesterday, we heard that the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mr. Timi Priesiva, said that the recent increment is due to the COVID-19 vaccine that has been that is still it is just at the last stage, by Pfizer now in America. Now, what is the relationship between discovering COVID-19 vaccine and increasing fear? What kind of explanation can we have for this?
Well, the ministerial excuse was a good reason, but not the real reason.
So what do you think is the real reason?
It gave a good excuse that COVID-19 medicine has been discovered by Pfizer in America, and therefore it has dovetailed and influenced the selling price. It may have been a good reason, but not the real reason.
Yeah, but Nigerians want to know the real reason, not...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Nigerians want to know the real reason.
Yeah.
It gave a good reason. As a minister, it must say something on behalf of the government. Otherwise, the discovery of vaccine, unless you are talking of transporting, luckily we don't transport the prophylactic, the medicine being used. So that was a good reason. I'm sure the minister will talk again. He will give the real reason, and it will not be far from the fact that logistics, production, non-functioning of the depot,
the refineries now.
The refinery and depot, those are the main ones. So any other circumstantial reason may have been a good reason to assuage the population, but we know it is not the real reason. But as I said, we can always put our observations to the government to be able to know that people are not happy. The NSAS sent a message. It showed that the youth were not happy about one or two things. They gave their charter of demand, and the government, let me say, is implementing them as it were. So there are many ways we can use to say that this excuse or the price is not acceptable. But the ordinary one is that prices of commodities should reduce. There should be palliative to cushion the effects. Because in Nigeria, everything goes up. Things hardly come down. Government can deregulate. Government can decree that don't sell a loaf of bread for more than such a price. And when the government takes such a standard stuff method, people will be happy. So let us take the ministerial excuse as a good reason, but not the real reason.
Okay. All right, Barrister, I'm not going to let you go. Now, can we begin to look at alternatives now? Alternatives in importation, because the downstream sector is fully deregulated. So it is the way they import, that is how they will sell. That's just the simplest explanation.
Just like
but let's begin to look at alternatives now. Alternatives in importation in such a way that at the end of the day, this alternative will impact on the price of importing this product, so that government will not necessarily be paying that high, for bringing this product in, so that, the effect will be...
refineries work.
Okay.
If all the refineries are working, that is to say, it's being manufactured nearer the locus inco where we are. Benin depot is working, Ogara is working, Wari depot is working. The price will reduce. But when you now have to transport fuel from Lagos, transport from other eastern states, the price will normally increase.
Okay.
Elementary economics knows that scarcity increase prices.
All right, Bagua, one more word from you before we just call it a wrap.
Yeah. The only hope I think Nigerians have now is that they need to pray hard that Dangote refinery, will, comes on board in the probably anytime next year, because even the federal government himself are also hoping and waiting, for that Dangote refinery. So, but the sad aspect is that, we are giving our economy to a particular hand, so that's where we are.
To one individual.
All right, so as it stands now, you guys don't have a permanent price, Ipman?
Not we, the federal government has.
No, I have to bring it to you.
No,
The federal government has told us that the landing cost is between 165 naira a litre
and they also
172 naira a litre.
And they also said the selling price is within, it has a window.
Yeah.
So whatever you see, people are selling within the window of the federal government.
Okay, from your own end, what is the stretch? What is the limits of the window?
The limit of the window, I think it's about 172.
172?
Yeah.
I have bought for 173, 174.
I don't know.
That's the problem.
That's the challenge to it, man.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. Just Google and find out, because there is a window. And if your area is also competitive, you are a business person, so you also know what to do.
Okay. All right. We'll just say a very big thank you to the panelists, for coming. Mr. Leo Bagua, who is the coordinator of IPMA in Edo State here, and also Barrister Adams Leo, a constitutional lawyer and a notary public of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. A very big thank you, gentlemen, for finding time to come. We'll take a short pause now for other segments. Please stay tuned.